Welcome back to the Smart Garden channel, where we believe that every garden tells a story of symbiotic relationships and natural harmony. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of companion planting, a practice as old as agriculture itself, yet perfectly aligned with modern sustainable gardening principles. By strategically pairing plants that support each other's growth, repel pests, and maximize space, you'll transform your garden into a thriving ecosystem that produces abundant harvests while minimizing the need for chemical interventions. Companion planting isn't just garden folklore passed down through generations, it's backed by scientific principles that explain why certain plant combinations flourish while others falter. At its core, companion planting mimics natural ecosystems where diversity creates stability. When we observe undisturbed natural areas, we never see monocultures. Instead, we find complex communities of plants coexisting in mutually beneficial relationships. These relationships work through several mechanisms. Some companion plants alter soil chemistry, like the famous nitrogen-fixing legumes that capture atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into forms that neighboring plants can use. This is why beans, peas, and other legumes make excellent companions for heavy feeders like corn and squash. Others release specific root exudates that either nourish beneficial soil microorganisms or suppress harmful nematodes and pathogens that might otherwise attack your precious crops. Perhaps most fascinating are the aromatic compounds released by certain plants that serve as natural pest deterrents. Marigolds, for instance, produce alpha-terphenol, a compound that repels nematodes and other soil pests when released from their roots. Similarly, the strong scent of herbs like rosemary and basil can mask the chemical signals that pests use to locate their preferred host plants, effectively creating olfactory confusion that protects your vulnerable vegetables. The Three Sisters planting method, combining corn, beans, and squash, remains one of history's most elegant examples of companion planting. Developed by indigenous North American farmers centuries ago, this trio demonstrates perfect symbiosis. Tall corn stalks provide natural trellises for climbing beans, while beans fix nitrogen in the soil that feeds the corn and squash. At ground level, sprawling squash leaves shade the soil, suppress weeds, and create a prickly barrier against raccoons and other corn-loving critters. Tomatoes and basil represent another time-tested partnership worthy of space in your garden. Beyond complementing each other in Italian cuisine, basil repels tomato hornworms and flies while improving the flavor and growth of tomatoes. The relationship works both ways. Tomatoes protect basil from certain pests through their mildly toxic foliage. For an even more productive tomato patch, add nasturtiums to attract pollinators and distract aphids, and marigolds to repel nematodes that would otherwise damage tomato roots. Garlic and onions planted nearby will help deter spider mites and aphids with their sulfur compounds. Carrots and onions form another garden partnership with mutual benefits. The strong scent of onions masks the sweet smell of carrots that would otherwise attract carrot flies, while carrots help break up the soil around shallow-rooted onions. This pairing not only protects your harvest but also maximizes space in raised beds or small gardens through their complementary root structures. Onions stay shallow while carrots grow deep, allowing you to essentially stack two crops in the same square footage. The thoughtful gardener can design interplanting schemes that maximize not just space but also the timing of harvests. Consider the practice of planting quick-growing radishes between slower-developing carrots. The radishes germinate quickly, marking the rows where the slower-germinating carrots will eventually appear. By the time the carrots need more space, you've already harvested the radishes, essentially getting two crops from the same space. Temporal companion planting extends this concept further by planting successions that account for the entire growing season. Cool season crops like lettuce can be planted in the eventual shade of tomatoes or corn. By the time summer heat would cause the lettuce to bolt, the taller plants provide necessary shade that extends the lettuce harvest. As the lettuce finishes, the summer crops expand to fill the space, ensuring continuous production and efficient use of your garden real estate. Vertical companion planting takes advantage of different plant heights and growth habits. Trellised climbing plants like cucumbers can share space with shade-tolerant greens below. The cucumbers get the full sun they crave while creating a cooler microclimate for lettuce or spinach that would otherwise struggle in summer heat. Integrating flowers into your vegetable garden isn't just about aesthetics, though the beauty they add certainly enhances your gardening experience. Certain flowers serve as powerful pest management allies through a process called trap cropping. Nasturtiums, for example, act as aphid magnets, drawing these pests away from your valuable vegetables. Rather than fighting a constant battle against aphids on your broccoli or kale, you can allow them to congregate on sacrificial nasturtiums, planted strategically throughout the garden. Marigolds deserve their legendary status in companion planting schemes. Beyond their nematode-suppressing properties, their bright blooms attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and lacewings that feast on aphids and other soft-bodied pests. French marigolds, or tagetes patula, offer the strongest nematode resistance, while Mexican marigolds, or tagetes minuta, release a substance that suppresses weed growth in the soil. Plant them as borders around vegetable beds or intersperse them between susceptible crops for maximum benefit. Sunflowers create natural windbreaks and provide support for climbing plants while attracting pollinators with their prominent blooms. However, they do cast significant shade and secrete compounds that inhibit the growth of certain plants, so position them on the north side of your garden where their height won't block sun from shorter vegetables. Pair them with cucumbers for natural trellising, but keep them away from potatoes and pole beans, which may struggle in their presence. A truly sustainable garden works with nature's pest control system by attracting and supporting beneficial insects. These garden allies include predatory insects like ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps that control pest populations, as well as the essential pollinators that ensure proper fruit set on many crops. By intentionally incorporating plants that support these beneficial creatures, you create a self-regulating garden ecosystem. Umbelliferous flowers like dill, fennel, and Queen Anne's lace feature flat, open bloom structures that provide accessible landing pads and nectar sources for tiny beneficial wasps and flies. These insects lay their eggs on or near garden pests, and their larvae then feed on those pests. A single parasitic wasp can destroy hundreds of aphids, caterpillars, or other problem insects. Incorporate these flowers throughout your vegetable beds, allowing a few to bloom continuously throughout the season. Perennial herbs like oregano, thyme, and lavender not only provide culinary harvests, but also support beneficial insects with their tiny nectar-rich flowers. These Mediterranean herbs require the same well-drained soil and full sun conditions as many vegetables, making them perfect companion plants. Their strong aromas confuse pests searching for host plants, while their extended blooming periods provide season-long support for beneficial insects. Start your companion planting journey by mapping your garden space and researching the specific needs and characteristics of your favorite crops. Consider the mature size, growth habit, nutrient requirements, and pest susceptibilities of each plant. Group plants with similar water and light requirements together, then look for complementary relationships among these groupings. Remember that companion planting isn't just about pest control, it's also about efficient use of space, balanced nutrient uptake, and creating microclimates. Keep detailed records of your companion planting experiments, noting which combinations thrive and which disappoint. Even conventional companion recommendations may perform differently in your unique garden conditions. Take photographs throughout the season and maintain a garden journal documenting pest pressures, harvest yields, and plant health. This personal database will become increasingly valuable over time, allowing you to refine your companion planting approach based on observed results rather than general guidelines. Share your companion planting discoveries with our Smart Garden community. We're building a collective knowledge base that helps gardeners everywhere grow more sustainably. Post your successful plant partnerships in the comments, share photos of your companion planted beds, and let us know which combinations have transformed your gardening experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our weekly gardening insights. By growing together and sharing knowledge, we're cultivating not just healthier gardens but a more sustainable relationship with the natural world that supports us all. Just as some plants support each other, others engage in chemical warfare through a process called allelopathy, the release of compounds that inhibit the growth of neighboring plants. Black walnut trees represent perhaps the most notorious example, secreting juglone that proves toxic to many garden plants. But numerous vegetables also demonstrate milder allelopathic effects on specific companions. Fennel, despite its benefits for beneficial insects, releases compounds that inhibit the growth of many common garden vegetables including beans, tomatoes, and kohlrabi. While valuable as an insectary plant, fennel is best positioned at the garden's edge rather than interplanted among vegetables. Similarly, potatoes and tomatoes, despite being botanical relatives, should be kept separate as they can transmit diseases to each other and compete for similar nutrients. Brassicas, including cabbage, broccoli, and kale, and strawberries make poor companions due to the brassica's high nutrient demands and growth habits. Strawberries, being perennial, require consistent soil conditions and resent the root disturbance that comes with planting and harvesting annual brassicas. For similar reasons, keep deep-rooted perennial herbs like sage and rosemary away from shallow-rooted annual vegetables to prevent competition and root disturbance. Raised bed gardens provide perfect controlled environments for implementing companion planting strategies. The defined spaces naturally encourage thoughtful plant combinations and intensive planting. In a typical 4 by 8 foot raised bed, you might create a salsa garden with tomatoes at the north end, surrounded by pest-repelling basil and marigolds with onions and peppers in the central section, and cilantro, which bolts quickly in summer heat, in shadier spots created by the taller plants. Container gardens benefit tremendously from companion planting principles adapted to their unique constraints. Combine a central tomato plant with pest-repelling basil, and nutrient-scavenging shallow roots of green onions. The limited soil volume in containers makes nutrient cycling particularly important, so including a nitrogen-fixing plant like bush beans can reduce the need for supplemental fertilizers. The vertical element can be expanded with trailing nasturtiums cascading over the container edge, simultaneously deterring whiteflies and adding edible peppery flowers to your harvest. For traditional row gardens, consider establishing permanent companion-planted borders of perennial flowers and herbs that attract beneficial insects. These insectary strips create habitat corridors that allow predatory insects to move throughout your garden. Within the rows themselves, alternate pest-susceptible crops with protective companions, carrots with onions, cabbage with aromatic herbs, to break up the chemical and visual signatures that draw pest insects to their preferred hosts. Spring gardens benefit from specific companion strategies that address early season challenges. Cool season crops like peas can be underplanted with heat-loving basil seedlings. The young basil benefits from the light shade provided by the pea vines while establishing itself for summer production. By the time summer heat causes the peas to decline, the basil is ready to take center stage. Early radishes not only mark rows for slower germinating carrots, but also loosen soil for their development. Summer brings pest pressures that make strategic companion planting essential. Squash vine borers and cucumber beetles can devastate cucurbit crops, but interplanting with repellent companions like radishes, nasturtiums, and marigolds creates confusion that reduces pest pressure. The intense summer sun also creates opportunities for nurse cropping, where heat-tolerant plants provide partial shade for more sensitive crops like lettuces, extending their productive season well into summer. Fall gardens face decreasing light levels and the approach of frost, creating unique companion opportunities. Fast-growing, cold-hardy companions like spinach and arugula can be tucked between slower-growing fall brassicas, providing an early harvest while the main crop develops. Frost-tender herbs like basil can be planted where they'll receive protection from larger cold-tolerant kale or collard plants, extending their productive season by a few precious weeks before winter's arrival. Start your companion planting journey by mapping your garden space and researching the specific needs and characteristics of your favorite crops. Consider the mature size, growth habit, nutrient requirements, and pest susceptibilities of each plant. Group plants with similar water and light requirements together, then look for complementary relationships among these groupings. Remember that companion planting isn't just about pest control, it's also about efficient use of space, balanced nutrient uptake, and creating microclimates. Keep detailed records of your companion planting experiments, noting which combinations thrive and which disappoint. Even conventional companion recommendations may perform differently in your unique garden conditions. Take photographs throughout the season and maintain a garden journal documenting pest pressures, harvest yields, and plant health. This personal database will become increasingly valuable over time, allowing you to refine your companion planting approach based on observed results rather than general guidelines. Share your companion planting discoveries with our Smart Garden community. We're building a collective knowledge base that helps gardeners everywhere grow more sustainably. Post your successful plant partnerships in the comments, share photos of your companion planted beds, and let us know which combinations have transformed your gardening experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our weekly gardening insights. By growing together and sharing knowledge, we're cultivating not just healthier gardens but a more sustainable relationship with the natural world that supports us all.